Now the question is, how do we heal? We can look at the science of healing trauma. So here are the steps. First thing is safety, so that we can get neuroplasticity. Second thing is emotional awareness and emotional regulation. And this allows us for number 3, which is really important, which is identity. So if we look at our human sense of identity, how do you develop an identity?
Yeah.
So identity requires a timeline.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is if we look at the formative moments of your life, they all have emotion. So this is what's really important. If you have an identity that is bad in any way, you can never change that identity without emotions. So what happens, so when I tell my story, it's like I was a kid, 9 years old, I got put on these expectations, dropped out of college, went to become a monk, went to medical school, became a doctor. Now I started this whole helping random people on the internet thing. So each of those were emotional experiences. So who we are is a narrative of our most emotional experiences. And we see this in all of our superhero movies, right? Batman had this tragic experience where his parents were shot by the Joker, and then he became something, right? There are all these moments, these powerful emotional moments. So if your emotions are dulled by drugs, by technology, by pornography, by watching serial killer shows, you will never change who you are. It is impossible. The neuroscience of your identity and development requires emotional experience. Okay? So with trauma, that's the next thing that happens. Once we have access to emotions, then we can become someone else. Now, the problem with trauma is that before we become someone else, the beliefs we have about ourselves become our destiny. So this is what a lot of people don't understand. Everyone's focused on productivity. But the single most important thing that will determine your future is your sense of who you are. And that's not like some, spiritual, get connected with you. This is like fucking science, right? If you believe you are a loser, the empathic circuits of other people's brains will detect that in you and they will treat you like a loser. You carry who you are with you. That's why you get into failed relationship number 1, failed relationship number 2, failed relationship number 3, until you changed. And when you change, your sense of identity changes, then your future will change. The last thing to do is, on a more microscopic level, look at these responses within yourself. So you asked me at the very beginning of the podcast, and now we're coming full circle. How do you start understanding yourself? So you look at the drives within yourself, right? Why can't I sit still? And this is going to be so hard for you, because if I told you, this is hilarious. If I told you, Stephen, if you want to heal your trauma, you need to go to Bali, you need to sit on a beach, and you need to do nothing. You will still turn that into growth and progress. Because what you'll say is, this is what Dr. K told me to heal my trauma. So now I'm doing even more important work than a podcast for 10 million people on the internet. Now I'm doing the healing of my trauma, which is the goal. And you're still running away from yourself. There's no way you can run away from it. Your mind will transform the very thing that you do into the problem. And that's what trauma does. I'll give you a chance to respond because I've been
I'm waiting for the solution, Dr. K.
Yeah, so in your case, I think it's like sit. Just sit. And you have to be careful, because if your mind turns the sitting into a goal that I have to achieve, I need to sit and that will be my growth. No fucking goal. Just sit. Sit. Be with yourself. And watch out for that mind. The second thing is awareness, okay? So as you sit, you will notice all of these things come up. So this is like, you asked me a question at the beginning, how do you start? So what I would say is sit for 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Sometimes we'll tell people to stare at a wall for an hour. And just look at what on earth goes on inside you. You will discover that it is a zoo of thoughts, feelings, emotions, drives, panics, worries, distractions. Your internal environment is such a mess. So what we need to do is just kind of calm that stuff down by just letting it kind of run out of steam. So this is a principle of the mind that if we feed our mind, it'll continue to grow. But what we need to do is just let it run out of steam. So just sit and do nothing.
What is that people are looking for, and why are they struggling to find it?
This is very simple. You can look at any human being on the planet and you can see that they all gravitate towards something, which is internal peace. So our Hunger gives us a sense, when we eat, then we have internal peace. Thirst gives us a sense of wanting to drink, and then we have internal peace. When we want self-respect, the feeling of a lack of self-respect is a lack of internal peace. So this is what's kind of weird, is that all of these, we're chasing all of these things outside of us to create an internal state, right? So no matter what you do in life, at some point your actions are going to cross the barrier of the external to the internal and will make you feel a certain way. Why do we get married? To create a particular feeling. Why do we give someone a kiss? To create a particular feeling, right? So everything we experience within us. Now, why is it so hard for people? So we're all looking for inner peace. That's just it, period, right? And then the question becomes, what makes it hard? Very simple, because we're looking for it in the wrong place. So we're all looking for it outside of us, right? So we're looking, and then what happens is if we look for inner peace from the outside, so if I get inner peace because people tell me, Alok, you're so great. Now what happens is that peace lasts only as long as people are saying it. And the real reason we're screwed is because the biological organism develops a system of tolerance. So right now you've got 10 million followers, and then you're going to need more, and then you're going to need more, and then you're going to need more. We're going to need more intense pornography. We're going to need more intense video games. We're going to need more exciting TV shows. So the nature of the human organism is to adapt to its surroundings, which is why you will never succeed if you are relying on the outside world to make you happy, because you will just want more and more and more. And what helps you achieve happiness comes from in here. That's why it's so hard for everyone.